This video is about harmony and tonality and how to use these elements of music within a string quartet. First things first, let's get to grips with what harmony and tonality are and how they relate to one another. When notes are played at the same time, it creates harmony. Different combinations of notes create different types of harmonies. For example, if you combine notes that all belong to the key the music is in, that creates a diatonic harmony. If you use notes from outside the key the music is in, that creates a chromatic harmony. The type of harmony used in a piece of music gives it its tonality. For example, if a piece of music uses only diatonic harmony, it will be tonal music. However, if a piece uses chromatic harmonies with notes unrelated to a specific key, it will be atonal music. Harmonies are made up of chords. There are lots of different chords. For example, major chords, and minor chords. Chords are always made up of two or more notes. Dissonant sounding chords use notes that produce a clashing or unpleasant sound when played together, and this helps build tension in your music. An example of a dissonant chord are two notes that are directly next to each other. For example, another example of a dissonant chord is a tritone, which is a chord that uses notes that are 6 semitones apart. The opposite of dissonant chords are consonant chords, which use notes that sound more pleasant when played together. For example, if I want a string quartet to play these chords, there are a few ways of doing this. String instruments are really special because, unlike lots of other instruments like instruments in a wind quintet, they can play more than one note at a time, like a piano or guitar can do. In this next example, taken from a piece for string quartet by Dmitri Shostakovich, the chords played by both violins are made up of just two notes, and so they're able to be sounded at exactly the same time. They're also played using the bow. Here's another example of chords being played on a violin from a piece for string quartet called Strum by Jessie Montgomery. In this example, the composer asked the musician to play the chords by plucking the strings with their fingers, and this is called pizzicato. In that example, the chords are made up of 3 or 4 notes, and this would be impossible for the violinist to play these at exactly the same time. So the musician plays them very quickly one after another in a strumming motion, giving it a guitar-like quality. Although the string instruments in a quartet can play chords, you do have to consider that they only have 4 strings, so it's not possible to play chords with more than 4 notes at a time. And because of where the musicians need to place their fingers on the strings, some chords are impossible for them to play too. So, if you are going to compose chords for just one of the instruments in the quartet, think about the notes the instrument can play on the 4 strings and double check that they're able to play them. Harmony and chords can still be created with a string quartet without each instrument having to play the chords on their own. Because there are 4 instruments in a string quartet, the combination of notes they play at any given time will create a chord, and therefore harmony. In traditional music notation, we create chords by stacking the different notes on top of each other, like this. We can split this chord up by giving each of the instruments in the quartet 1 note each. For example, the bottom note F could be played by the cello. The middle note A can be played by Rich on the viola. And the top note C can be played by Paddy on the violin. Together the chord sounds like this. When all these 3 instruments play these notes together, it creates the F chord. That chord included notes that are quite close to each other. But composers often create some space in the overall sound by spreading the notes in a chord out a bit. For example, I gave the cello this note F from the original chord. But to create some space, I'd like the cello to play this note 1 octave lower. We're still using the notes from an F chord, but using a wider range of pitches. While these instruments are playing notes from the chord to create the harmony, the other instrument could be taking the lead with something more melodic. The instruments don't just have to play long notes to support the harmony, you can apply rhythms to them too. Take a look at this example from a piece called Death and the Maiden by Franz Schubert. The cello, viola and second violin are playing notes that support the harmony of the music, while the first violin is taking more of a leading role with the melody. We're really looking forward to seeing what you compose.